shit's in the safe. Got me a spot out the way. Nigga just tryna be safe.
Let's get into the sports talk.
That you know what, you can question their level of competition and the fact in which they've stomped on everybody. Paul Feinbaum, they are 9-0. They are the reigning, defending national champions. Over the last 4 years, they've been in a championship game 3 times. They've won 2 national titles. They stand here as the reigning national titles. And on top of it all, as the reigning national champions. And on top of it all, over the last 4 years and 9 games, these brothers are 64-4. And you're telling me that because Penn State has been on a roll for 3 months, you're telling me that Clemson, the reigning, defending national champions, may not get...
They not going off of their record. They know they the national champs. Only reason Penn State is ahead of them because their performance on the field. Clemson had a hard time with North Carolina. They had to hold them off for a 2-point conversion. They could have lost that game. Close call. Louisville, they ain't played so well against them. They almost lost to them. Almost they won that game because Louisville ain't really have a quarterback like that could get the job done. They pulled away in the 4th quarter. They go off of what you do on that field. And they haven't been performing on that field. They've been up and down on the field.
To defend their crown, if they, just clear the slate and beat everybody in front of them and go 12-0, 13-0, and they're supposed to be on the outside looking in when they're the reigning defending champions. This is what stinks about college football. You gotta be kidding me.
Well, look,
unbelievable.
Before you set them straight, or maybe not, let me just jump in. I would 100% agree with you, Stephen A., if this were the end of the season. But the fact is, between Ohio State and Penn State, and obviously coming up LSU and Alabama, they're automatically, Clemson, as long as they don't lose to an inferior team in the meantime, automatically will join the playoff picture. So the fact that you have undefeated teams ahead of them, they're going to bump each other off, is going to make room for Clemson before the end of the year, provided they take care of business. So philosophically, I understand what you're saying, but I think you could make that argument and say, okay, we're not talking about the final standings here. One thing that does bother me, why is Alabama ahead of Clemson? What have they done this year that Clemson hasn't? Like, Paul, I understand the arguments against Clemson.
I'm not a huge Alabama fan, but they perform well on the field. Once again, it's not what you have. It's about what do you do on that field, and they haven't performed through this 9-game winning streak this year. They haven't performed on that field like that. Alabama have. And they have the resume as well. But they performed on that field this year. None of their games been close. Their quarterback don't even play in the 4th quarter. But they already put up 30 points in the first half. That's why they're in front of Clemson, because they performed on the field.
But don't they also apply to Alabama?
You both need your heads examined just to start this conversation off. First of all, Stephen A.
I'm listening.
You know how I feel about you. I love you. And you're the smartest guy I've dealt with.
Love you too, man.
And based on what I read in the New York papers, you're about to be the highest paid man in show business. But that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't matter how many games they've won. It doesn't matter how many titles they've won. It doesn't matter how many times you've gone to Clemson and spoken to the team. What matters is what they've done on the field. That's what this committee is basing it on. And you just can't get that through your skull. All this other stuff is extraneous. It's irrelevant. Pay attention to the games. They've been okay, but they haven't been overwhelming. You know why? Because they haven't played anyone. Or they played Texas A&M. They played a couple of ranked teams that you can manufacture as big-time opponents. And Max, to your point,
what's Alabama?
Alabama has not played a great schedule either, but they also didn't need to stop someone on a 2-point conversion to beat North Carolina, which is going nowhere this year.
So the North Carolina game, which they won,
hold on, Mac. Maybe they didn't have to do that because guess what? They ain't the reigning, defending national champions that's getting everybody's A game to that level. I mean, come on, Paul.
I mean, obviously you will not listen to me, your friend, your college football.
No, I just don't like your point.
I mean, where are you tonight? Houston? Do I need to call James Harden? Maybe he'll tell you how this really works because you just keep going to the same script every time. And Stephen A., that committee, there's 13 people. They go in, they examine the schedule, they examine film, and they don't get one rip what happened last year.
First of all, Paul, Mr. College Football Guru, and my God, do you deserve it because you've forgotten more college football than I ever know. I'll give you that. But I recall, I do have a memory. I do know how to listen, and I don't recall anybody that's ever been more critical of the college football crew than you. These committees, you've been excoriating them for years. All right, so don't sit up here now bloviating about what they're trying to say and what their measuring stick is. I mean, well, listen, what I'm saying is it's not like basketball, Paul. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. And I recall you saying this to me one time years ago, Paul. I do remember these things.
Like you be saying, you be criticizing people for playing someone that's in front of their schedule. You were like, they played this team. We ain't gonna really give them that props. That's what you gotta do with Clemson. They're not going off of what you want. How do you perform? They don't want to look at a national champion barely getting by, really. They haven't played anyone for real. They almost lost 2 games. It's based off your performance on the field, and they haven't been performing like Alabama or Penn State. That's why they in front of them. When you perform on the field, that's why they go off of your rankings. That's why they say that number 5 is a national chance, because they haven't performed this well this year.
You said, excuse me, even though history shouldn't always matter, sometimes it does. When you are a team that rises from the ashes and you are a team that shows and proves what you're worthy of, they're going to give you that edge. We've had this debate when it became to Alabama, Georgia in the past, and others. Because of Saban's history, Alabama's history, you know what they're capable of come playoff time, and that could be a deciding factor. Well, look at what Clemson and Dabo Swinney have done. You can't ignore that.
First, Stephen A., listen, I'm not ignoring any of it. And by the way, Clemson is going to be there when it's over for this reason. Max said it. They don't have a schedule left. They'll get through all that. They don't have to deal with Georgia or Alabama or LSU in the SEC game, or Penn State or Ohio State in the Big Ten game, or even have the Pac-12 where you have 2 good teams in Oregon and Utah. I mean, they'll be playing nobody in the ACC championship game. So all this sound and fury signifying nothing by you is a waste of your energy. You've got a lot more to do today. You've got another hour of this show. You got Stephen A.
It's not wasting my energy. Wait a minute. I got enough energy for everyone.
But man, the same way they played this whole year, if they do get into the playoffs, it could come back and bite them in the playoffs. Because they're the 4 best teams in that playoffs. Whoever you play got a good offense, either got a good defense too. They can put up points, and it can hurt you if you get in the playoffs. Because how you play through these 9-game stretch, it can come back and bite you once they let you in the playoffs.
Get the schedule.
I got enough energy.
Stephen A., Alabama plays LSU. Ohio State plays Penn State.
They're going to be in.
Common sense would say it takes care of itself.
But I'm not talking about... But Max is right. Max is right. I'm not refuting that. But what I'm saying to y'all is that, like in a lot of situations, when I talk about the process, I also talk about perspective. I talk about how things look. The fact that you come out with your first poll and the reigning defending national champions who are undefeated is out of it. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I have a question, Paul. Given what you just said, Ohio State's won LSU's too. LSU has the slightly better wins against better opponents, but Ohio State has beaten the brakes off of everyone. Did they get 1 and 2 right? I think they did.
I think they did too, but you know what? Next week when we're together, hopefully, the winner of the Alabama-LSU game is going to be number 1.
And the loser will be out of the top 4, right? And the loser will be out of the top 4, and Clemson will be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for